Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Cobra Commander, issue number one. I know. This comic book came out last week, but you haven't seen me for like months, so chill. Anyway, this comic book kind of pulled me out of well, I've been ridiculously busy, but it also pulled me out of a slump because I was getting really bored with comic books. And suddenly a comic book comes along that I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And I take a gander at it, and sure enough, it was actually pretty good. Not in the standard ways, though, which actually got me really interested, dare I say, invested in this comic book. Let's talk about who made this comic book before we boldly go where, I don't know, people are reviewing this comic book? I don't know. I haven't been really paying attention to that stuff lately. Let's talk. Joshua Williamson of the Flash fame writes this comic book. Andrea Milana, who I've never heard of before, but I just followed her a couple minutes ago. She she drew this comic book. The colorist is Annalisa Leone. Russ Wooten on letters. I know that guy. And we're gonna go from there. This was and I boom, everything that I asked for in the very beginning. Milana and Leone did the cover for the main cover for this comic book. Whole bunch of other comic book covers out there. They are, I mean, like there's some really beautiful covers out there. I can't even say what my favorite one is. There's a lot. They're all really good. So, excuse me, I get into this comic book, man. This is IDW. Excuse me, this is not IDW. They don't have this anymore. This is Image comic book, specifically the Skybound imprint. Um, this is also part of the Energon universe. So it's literally a day one kind of experience, a reboot of G.I. Joe, also a reboot of it's Energon, it's called. So a reboot of the Transformers. I don't know what else they're rebooting in this, but this is going to be its own pocket universe in the Image Comics line, right? And I'm digging on that. I'm digging on that because they explain from the very beginning this is not your father's Oldsmobile. I don't know how many people are old enough to remember that those commercials, that line, that jingle. But man, oh man, this is different and yet the same. That's one of the things I love about this. So many times people make a mistake. I'm already getting into the review. So many people make the mistake of just saying, we're going to make this so radically different. Yeah, well, they look the same. So maybe making it completely radically different would be a bad idea if they still look the same. You know, that's why the Transformers Bayverse universe, the Michael Bay, yeah, Michael Bay universe, actually wasn't quite so bad because even though you like the most familiar part about it was actually Optimus Prime's voice, right? Um, Everything else was radically different. Bumblebee couldn't talk. He was a badass warrior instead of just a really cool infiltrator, bright yellow though he was. And everybody looked different, right? Everything was different. So it was pretty easy to get into. It wasn't so much yearning for the past. I don't remember too often where I yearned for the for it to just be like the comic books. It was different enough. We get to do the exact same thing here, except they don't. The characters look the same. The characters act so far the same. This comic book does something that really impressed me, and there's some bold decisions in this comic book. What it did that especially interested me, and it made me think that this was a on its way to becoming a great 5 issue limited series comic book, is that rather than redefining Cobra Commander, they defined him. They established immediately who he is in a way that you'd have to watch the entire first season of the original Generation One GI Joe characters, right? In order to really understand who Cobra Commander was. He's a coward. Oh, he's real tough in front of a whole bunch of other people, but one-on-one physicality, no. If he doesn't have his bodyguards there protecting him, then he's a chump, right? But also, he's a scientist, and he's cruel. He is sadistic AF. He won't just kill you. He'll like torture you to death within a matter of seconds. The most excruciating pain you can imagine as you see your life force wink out before you. And you're and the Cobra Commander, the Cobra symbol gets formed in the blood pool beneath you. Kind of campy, but I'm okay with that. How many times have we seen a Punisher movie with that, or the Crow movies with the symbol being done in fire or something like that? So to do one in blood, I mean, come on, it really leans into who Cobra Commander is. Andre Malay did a interestingly good job on this. There was nothing crazy to do in this comic book. Hell, the first 40 images, it seemed, were the same image, just a little bit closer. A little bit of detail has changed. The tree maybe, waves a little bit differently. These two people are a little bit closer to their apparent destination, right? Nothing big there. Meanwhile, and only I think there were only 2 action scenes in here, right? But faces were detailed, expressions were off the charts. And it seems an interesting choice to put someone, Andrea, who is, can we be on a first name basis? Who she's so good at drawing impressions, and the character they give her, the protagonist, to, I guess the antagonist is the protagonist in this particular case, has only 2 real versions of himself, and both of them involve covering the face. There's the cloth, the blue cloth that they put over with the eyes punched out, and then there's this one with the sheer metal mask and a single line going down the front, right? And the helmet on top. She's so good at expressions, and she's got to convey emotions in so many other ways that feels like a handicap to me. She's pulling it off so far. 4 more issues to go. But I'm ready to saddle up for these. Joshua Williamson always has a great, well, I don't want to say always, I haven't read everything that he's done, but man, that Flash series was just second to none. I mean, people have always been into the Flash, and then to find fans of the Flash going, oh my God, this is amazing. That says something. He's one of the most underrated, super uber popular characters in existence, the Flash. And to make a memorable run of this character, I think Joshua Williamson's accolades are etched indelibly in history just because of that series alone. And he's done more. He's still going. He's actually relatively young in the comic book industry, if I'm turning this correctly. Anyway, he establishes Cobra Commander to be sadistic, cowardly, but we're not fully there yet, but all of the evidence is there. And not just evil, but, again, a scientist, which is, an evil, a mad scientist, but he's not mad. A very sane, evil scientist. This isn't Megamind popping up, guys. This is a really evil son of a gun. Imagine if Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers weren't big and strong and tough, but the same level of smart. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on this. I'm really digging seeing the manipulation that this guy does. He F's up royally and then asks for a promotion. I'm sorry. What? That's who Cobra Commander is. And he sees opportunities almost everywhere. He feels unappreciated. He never feels he's got the proper adulation that he feels he deserves. Nothing's ever going to be good enough for him. Because every time he attains anything even close to his dream, he's already thinking, I've been shortchanged. How do you deal with someone like this? I guess put them in charge of a evil terrorist organization that goes against G.I. Joe. I'm really looking forward to how this goes forward because this comic book made me understand. I never tried to really understand Cobra Commander before. He was who he was. It was pretty obvious who he was. We just never had to put our finger on it because we never really, well, at least I never really cared that much. But he's Lex Luthor. Stop and think about it. I know Lex is one of the oldest superhero villains who's ever existed. He might be the oldest. I mean, he's not too far off from Bluto and Popeye the Sailor Man, right? I mean, at the end of the day, for crying out loud, this guy, he Joshua Williamson essentially made him like the evil manager, the heel, the bad guy manager in a wrestling show, right? When you think about it, he's not the guy who punches you in the face going toe to toe with you. He lets you get beaten up by his flunkies. And then one of his flunkies, his cronies, will grab you from behind and hold you. And then that's when he'll walk up and get in your face and smack you in the face or hit you with the tennis racket, right? And the second that he gets free and stuns the big strong villain who's holding him, he slowly turns around. And what does the evil heel manager do? He panics. You can almost see the fear, like in a Bugs Bunny cartoon where he goes white from the top straight down, right? You can just see it creep in him, and he just, trying to look for a way out that he'll never find. That's who Cobra Commander is. And you see all the makings of that before he actually gets stopped by the villain. I'm going to do a spoiler in here also before I leave. Oh, a little dislocation there. And there we go. It's interesting that I'm going to remember when I put my hand up, that means you shut your mouths. No, I'm not the Miz. When I put my hand up, that means there's a spoiler. When I drop my hand, that means the spoiler's over. But this is going to be the end of the review, so I'll simply say the spoiler now. Here it comes. You should go now if you don't want the spoiler for the end of this book. He has to interrogate someone, and as it turns out, the person who he's interrogating, it's on you now, is Megatron. Apparently, people have been looking to find out where Megatron is in this Energon universe, the EU, for a while now, and go figure, he pops up in this book. So if you're looking for the ultimate Decepticon villain, yes, ultimate Decepticon villain, Unicron is not a Decepticon villain. I find it interesting. However, I would love to see him as a Yellow Lantern totem at some point. Oh, how cool would that be? Anyway, so or maybe for the Black Lanterns. But no, I'm digging the idea of Yellow Lanterns. But it's interesting that the main bad guy for both universes is here together, and they both think they have a one-up on each other. But which one really does? It seems like this guy, but do we really believe that? I'm looking forward to the rest of this series. This looks like it's going to be a hell of a ride. And not just this series, I guess I need to start reading some of the other Skybound print books because this does look pretty interesting. Guys, I'm out of here. Hope you enjoy your day. I'll talk to you later. Like the video, watch an ad, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.